Hey everyone, good evening my time, and welcome to another edition of the Success Principles for Housewives and Stay-at-Home Parents and all my friends. Because these success principles, you can use it for anything that you desire to achieve. Yesterday we talked about you considering having a mastermind group, because when you mastermind your way to success, you cut the chase, you make it easier, you achieve more in less time. And you could also have an accountability partner. Sometimes in the coaching space, we call it a coach body, or in the network marketing space, they say a battle body. So it's about the same thing. Today we are looking at something that I call one of your superpowers, but Proctor calls it one of the mental faculties. A lot of us just happen to we know something about it, but we don't really have a lot of information on how to harness this superpower. So this particular principle started with a analysis from like a quote that there is the part of us that has, from brain research and scientific studies, the subconscious data is more than the conscious data, and it's more by 10 million to 1. For every 1 conscious data, you have 10 million. And someone gave an analogy of an elephant and the tick or the fly that is perching on the elephant. The elephant is the subconscious data, and that fly is the conscious data. And so there is a part of you that is smarter than you. That is where your natural genius lies. And there's this funny story about a folklore about the gods that they keep. Someone thinks about something, they say here's the answer, but people were not using it, and they said, you know what, let's hide this from them. Someone said, let's hide it in the forest. Man, they would go into the forest, they'll find it. Let's hide it in the ocean. They would dive into the ocean and they'll find it. Let's put it on the mountain. They will soon climb to the mountain and find it. You know what? Let's hide it inside them. They won't think of going inside them to get the answers. That may be true. That may just be a folklore, but it's really amazing to think that we have all that we need, but we're wired to always look out. Help me, please. I'm not so sure if I can do it. I don't think I have what it takes. You find that every time, in many places, in different circumstances, whether in the business arena, whether in the family, people doubt themselves. And the beautiful thing, when I look at nature, when I look at everything that God has made, for those who say higher power, higher intelligence, everything is self-producing, self-sustaining. Wow, that's really powerful and intelligent. You have everything you need to achieve whatever you want to achieve. It's inside. If you are patient enough to draw it out, then you see yourself moving freely towards your goal. So this is one superpower: intuition. Trust your intuition. This is one superpower you should begin to be interested in and use it. It's free. Recently, some 2 or 3 days ago, I went to the licensing office to renew my driver's license, and they gave me a short test just to be sure that I'm fit to drive. And as I was answering the questions, there was this quiet voice inside. It just, that's the answer. This is supposed to, but I would doubt it and I would pick something else. So out of 11 questions, I got 2 wrong. And it pained me why my husband got everything right. And they were telling him that he's the genius. And I was just feeling, I should have just listened to my mind. Do you have such moments where, oh, but I knew it? Moments where you just answered the question and it was the right one. That's your intuition. That's the smart side of you. There are some people, you see them, they can't tell you, but they know that someone that they're thinking of is about to open the door. And the person knocks and the door is opened. Wow. Someone is tapping the husband, please check the front door. Around 12 a.m. in the night or 2 a.m. Please check the front door is open. And I was like, you this woman. I know it's locked. Just check. And then he goes to check. And it's actually open. Wow. This woman, you're a witch. No, it's the intuition. There are many people that have died in plane crash and other ways just because they didn't listen to their inner voice. Some people say, I heard a voice. Some people say, God told me. That's the God part of you. Sometimes it comes as a quiet voice. Sometimes it comes as a feeling. You have that hunch. You are talking with someone. Somehow you are not happy about it. You can't place it, but you don't know why you are not flowing with the person. Sometimes you pick your phone to talk to someone and you have this weight and you are trying to deal with this situation. That may be your intuition. Jack talked about a very funny scene. I was laughing and laughing in the book. He said he went for a meditation retreat because he said there are ways that you can build your intuition. You can, become used to it. So meditation is one of them. And he said he went for a meditation retreat for 7 days. He said the first 1, 2, 3 days, as they'll stay quietly from morning till evening, just take breaks to go eat and take some walks and come back. His mind, his thoughts were racing everywhere. He slept for a long time, woke up. He was almost going crazy. He's asking himself, what on earth made me pay to come here? People are achieving their goals and I'm just told to sit quietly. Mindfulness. He said, but by the 4th day, suddenly he was calm. He was still having those thoughts, but he was more like an observer, and he could relate. He could see things. All of a sudden, he started thinking about his goals and started having answers to his goals. He said that thing changed his life forever. From, he was at the age of 35. Jack Canfield is over 70-something right now. So you can imagine, for the past 40-something years, he's been applying it and working on, really tapping into that superpower. So what would that do for us? If you become aware of this superpower that you have freely, many times when people are confused, trying to do things, it doesn't come. And then when you are relaxed, sometimes you are having a shower, sometimes you are just going on a walk, sometimes you are praying, and you just get the answer. When you hear Eruka, when you hear, wow, I just, people say, it was when I didn't even think of it. It was when I wasn't thinking of it that I just got the answer. That's your intuition. And when you trust your intuition and you take action immediately, you get that. In fact, for me, you get that. Once you get that, prompt to do something, that still small voice or the lecture, however it comes in, when you get it, it does a lot. and you act on it immediately. It can just be the difference. I have two stories like that outside the book I want to share with friends. Hey Tonia, thank you so much for joining. You know, one of my friends talked about having ulcer that was almost terminal, and the doctors were insisting she comes for surgery. It was so bad. She was going lean. So many things were happening, and they kept praying and praying and praying and asking God to help her. She said after a while, she just felt the urge to eat bananas, and she kept eating it. She called another fruit, I can't remember, but she said she would eat it like a meal. She said after a while, it was over a year, she realized that, wow, I'm not having those pains. In fact, she cannot, if you ask her how she got rid of that cancer ulcer issues, she would not be able to tell you step by step that I did this, I did that. She just noticed that she was drawn to eating a lot of bananas. She would eat and eat and eat, and after a while she didn't feel the pains again. She didn't even remember. And then over a year, it just dawned on her, wow, I hadn't gone to see the doctor and I don't have those pains. Oh, that's how it, and that was the end. Years on, she didn't have any of those issues. If only you'll be quiet to listen to the voice within. Another was from, you know, an amazing mentor I respect in the spiritual circle, and she was talking about how she had arthritis and it was so bad. She would pray for people and everything would be okay, but she had issues. And there was a time she traveled outside the country. It was cold, it was terrible, and as she was in the basement, you know, the room where, you know, the couple that was hosting her kept provided for her, she was just crying and praying. And as she was praying, you know, it was just like a soft nudge. Look at the shelf. And she looked towards that end and saw a book on nightshades, on something on the plants and the foods to avoid to take care of arthritis. That was it. So you have all the answers to all your questions, to all the things you want to achieve in this life inside. So how do you go about tapping into this superpower? Be calm. You could, you know, have a walk in nature. Many times when you are in the shower, it happens to me, I don't know about you, but many times when I'm mindlessly just, you know, having my bath, ideas come. Sometimes I act on them and I see, you know, wonderful results. Some other times I even forget by the time I'm done in the bathroom, because it says within 37 seconds or so, if you don't put down, you know, these ideas, it just evaporates. And within 7 minutes, if you've not done something concerning it, you begin to forget. So if you want to increase this mastery, you need to act on, you know, this urge, this hunch, this still small voice, like they would say, that comes to you, this feeling. You need to have either a recorder or a book nearby to write it down and immediately do something that would move you towards attending to it. I was discussing with someone recently and he gave me ideas of what he wants to do. Immediately, it's called laser coaching. I said, as we're dropping this call, I need you to contact one out of the two people you just mentioned and schedule a meeting. And I said, do that and call me back. And he did, and he was so grateful. Why? He has made a commitment towards that thing. The same thing you would do with when you have these ideas. That is how you build on it. If you have the idea and you write it down, like Mark Victor Hansen will say, if you think it, ink it. Write it down and do something micro, something to move you towards it immediately. Lock it in. It could be you reaching out to your PA and using a voice note, say, let's check this out. It could be you reaching out to your the sales rep or your client or your customer to say, hello, I just, think about it. Someone was sharing with me about a loved one that died recently, and how it came into her mind, and it just dropped, pray for, call, and she just said, oh, I'll do that later. And she also talked about another family member that was seriously praying when he had a premonition of something bad happening to the family, and he prayed and prayed, and then one of their relations that was sick recovered, and he was so happy. Just as he was happy and was about to leave the prayers, the same person's name dropped on this other man, not my friend, dropped on in his mind. And he was saying, oh yeah, that young chap, I would call him later. It didn't think that anything about death would be related to that. Call this person now. And there was someone that, so many things to move them towards reaching out to that child. And the child ended up committing suicide. It was terrible. It was painful. So I also don't, always listen to the intuition, that small voice, that nudge, that hunch. But I tell you, the times that I have really have been grateful that I did. And I challenge you and myself to make it one of the habits that, remember we did a video on learning 4 new habits. Intuition, tapping into that superpower should be one of these habits, where you either meditate, you pray, you go for a walk, different ways to become calm, practice mindfulness, and listen. And you can also get this by asking questions. Ask yourself, should I? Many times people go into the wrong marriage, and when they have issues, when you ask them, they will tell you that I saw the signs. Like Jack Canfield will say, the yellow alerts. Those things are coming from the intuition. But I rationalized it. Listen, your rational mind is the ant, is the flea on that elephant. The elephant will win every time. 10 million times to 1. 10 million times stronger is that subconscious data, that intuition. So don't fight it, embrace it. Learn how to steer the ship using the ant to lead the elephant. Intentionally decide what you would do, not just reactive on anything that comes. So when you write down what is coming into your mind, Jack Canfield was giving the example, and I've heard this from Napoleon Hill. So let me share Napoleon Hill's story first. He said when he wrote the book, Think and Grow Rich, for close to 3 months, his editor and publisher was harassing him for a title. And he sent up to 500 titles for the book, and it wasn't a fit. So he said at that very night, he was fed up, he was tired, and he said to his intuition, look here, you have helped me sometimes, but you have caused me misery. Right now, I need you to come up with a name, and I need it now. And then he slept off. By 2 a.m., his eyes opened, and what he heard was, Think and Grow Rich. He immediately wrote it down, carried his phone, called the publisher and said, this is the name. And he said, boy, you've got it right. And that book has sold millions. Most of the mentors I call today, they were born out of that book, Think and Grow Rich. Jack Canfield talked about chicken soup for the soul. they finished compiling these stories and they were just thinking of the name for this, and he was in that meditative state, and he heard it, chicken soup. He said, you know, you can actually have discussions with this still small voice, this smarter part of you. So when he heard chicken soup, he was wondering what has chicken soup got to do with the book? And the response was, when you were young, your grandma made chicken soup when you were feeling sick. Okay, so many people are sick in their minds. Many people need help to believe that they can move on. So that is how it's linked to the book. Oh wow, he said having goosebumps. Chicken soup for the soul. He called his wife, told her about the name. She had goosebumps. He called his co-author partner, Mark Victor Hansen, and he had goosebumps. They knew they were onto something. And today, the rest is history. Powerful, powerful. I could go on and on about the intuition. For me, at some point when I didn't understand that intuition is one of my superpowers and that it's okay, I actually almost thought I was weird, because I kind of am aware of things. You know, somebody can be talking sorry that I'm laughing, but there was a situation one time like that. Somebody was talking with me and she was trying to explain something, and I just got that voice, you know, just like what she's saying happened to her. She just doesn't want to say she's the one. And as she was talking, I said, does this have anything to do with you? And she broke down. I started saying, yes, it's me. I was shocked, you know. And I still remember how one of the ways I knew I was, you know, getting married to my husband, he came around to visit me when one of my auntie had issues and I was in the hospital, and he was trying to locate where I was. And I said, okay, I'll soon be out. We're friends then. And as I walked out, I heard it clearly. It was not like still small voice. I heard it, your husband. And I turned, like I wanted to know who was talking. And it just briefly, it was as if I was dizzy, kind of. I'm like, oh my God, oh, am I sure? What? Are you serious? I was looking into the skies because, you know, that thing. Many times I tell my husband, you know, God spoke to me. You know, I heard. And some other times I don't talk because I feel kind of weird. I don't need to say this thing, you know. So that's your intuition. That's the part of you that wants to, you know, align with your greatness, with the things that will help you. Please, everybody has it. It's not a gift to a particular person. Just become aware and start building on it, because when you trust your intuition and you do the first thing, you will be confident to trust your intuition more, and your intuition would release more to you, and you will be confident in yourself. When you don't trust your intuition, you begin to doubt yourself, and you know what? We don't want that feeling. If there's anything you've gotten out of all these success principles, remember your vibration. We want the vibration to be up, because it is when your vibration is up, when you are happy, when the feeling is, I can conquer, I can do this, you get things done. When you're down, when you're sad, when you second guess yourself, you don't do much. There was the story of the man that is a real estate investor in the book, and he had called the day before and they said, no, there is no listing for the particular house he wanted. And in the night, 3 a.m., he woke up and all he had was, start driving to that place. Wow, you're kidding me? He got there by 8 a.m. and he was wondering, and he just read from the papers and found out there was a listing. Got to the office before anybody knew, secured it. Another was about Conrad Hilton, the guy that had the Hilton enterprise. He was bidding for a particular, you know, property as well, and he had his mind pegged on 160K, but then it dropped in his mind, increased it to 180. He obeyed, and guess what? that particular auction, the highest bidder was $179,800. So he was just ahead by $200. $200. And he got it. He made $2 million from that deal. So do you know, you and I, we've suffered though from not using our superpower. Would you promise me that you would do something about your superpower? There was this other story in that book, in this particular success principle, about a lady that was very sick. And while they were praying, she had royal jelly. What is royal jelly? Found out is what the worker bees feed the queen in the beehives. And she took it and got better. And while she was praying, is this all about it? And what came up in her head was business. And she got a shop, but at some time she started struggling. And by the time the shop was almost closing up, she had only $450. And she was wondering, what do I do? And it dropped in her head, radio. What do I need radio for? Go on air. And when she reached out to the radio people, they said, we don't do things like that, except you do your jingles yourself, you talk. She said, yes, I'll do it. She had like how many slots? And she put in the last $450 in that radio thing. While she would come on air and talk about it, there was someone, a celebrity that the daughter had issues. He heard her on the phone, Pat Boone, and he reached out to her, got some, and he worked for the daughter, and the daughter was healed well. And he called and said, oh, I'm so happy. Is there anything I could do for you? She said, yes, please. Could you run like 3, referral, testimonial radio ads on this royal jelly for me? The rest, as they say, is history. She became a multi-millionaire. I also know of a friend whose husband was almost, dying. The lungs failed, the kidney failed, the liver failed. And as the medical practitioners were working on him, one of them just suggested, please, this thing is not in Nigeria, but you could look for it. He was talking about CBD oil. And the lady started looking for and found something on Facebook, and then reached out to the person. She trusted her gut feeling. She had the last money. She just put it in it, got some bottles, and the rest, they say, is history. The husband recovered, and she went on to do the business. She's in the business, and she's an 8-figure earner in something that she acted on. Followed her gut feeling. Where are you, hindering or stopping yourself because you are not listening, you're not inquiring, you're not going deep down to go get the results? It's inside. So I challenge you, and I challenge myself today to flex that muscle and make it part of what we are used to. First, ask, should I marry him? Should I do this? What will be the best way to go about the social media campaign? Who should I ask for help? Those questions, and then be quiet. And when you hear, you ink it and you act on it. So thank you so much for joining today. Sorry I took a lot of your time with all the gist. Join me tomorrow, 9 p.m. West African time, for another Success Principle. Bye for now.